first I'm going to give you a brief about my background. I studied economics in 3 different universities. University of California, Berkeley, and University of Washington in Seattle. And I graduated from the American University in Cairo. And I was doing economics and political science. And I was minoring in business as well. And then, right after graduating, I wanted to understand what each function is like on real ground. So we keep on hearing pricing, marketing, I don't know what, but I wanted to actually get in touch with what those functions do on a daily basis. So I joined the Accelerated Management Program of Etisalat, where you get to work with different teams each quarter. And I started off by being part of the Customer Insights team, which is the team where I learned how to look at data and how to make an analysis to come up with the right recommendation. And then after that, I was part of the pricing team, which is the team that decides what to offer to the market and for how much, based on where we stand and the market competitive landscape, where do we have a potential opportunity and where do we fall behind. And then after Etisalat, I joined Vodafone. I was going to join Vodafone at the beginning. I was going to be part of the Customer Insights team. But then at the very final step, after finalizing the interviews, I actually told the HR that I want to join the Customer Value Management team. And this is where the growth path started. So that's for Vodafone. I stayed in the Customer Value Management team and for almost 3 years, handling different products. And then after that, I was handling the mobile internet growth in Egypt. Then after the journey of Vodafone, I joined Careem. I actually joined Careem when it was much smaller, before getting acquired by Uber. And I started off by handling the demand growth of Egypt. Then I started to take over a bunch of other markets, like Morocco, Algeria, and then we were about to launch in Tunisia, and then Corona happened. And then when Corona happened, I was referred by the VP of Growth of Careem to work with Spacetoon, as they were launching their digital app called Spacetoon Go. Think of it as if Netflix for kids. And they were trying to launch in unlock new markets, and they were launching in Bahrain and Saudi and stuff like that. So I worked with Spacetoon for a while. And then from Spacetoon, I joined Amazon to actually launch a new logistic program in KSA, Egypt and UAE. And then finally, I was saving the best for the last. I joined Khznly, where I'm handling the growth. And for you, does anyone here doesn't know Khznly? ماشي. إيه ده؟ كنت مبسوطة. ماشي. Khznly is basically a tech-based company, startup, and it's an end-to-end omni-channel. So basically, the merchants that we have, we handle all their operations, all their logistics, and we help them grow in different ways. We can finance them to invest further on their marketing or production or whatever, and at the same time we unlock for them new markets. And I think you guys might have seen the recent press release about Saudi Arabia, where we started launching the same services in KSA. So we're allowing the local producers to export their products to KSA, and that's unlock a new revenue stream that was not going to happen otherwise. Okay. In parallel of all this, I have been doing yoga for a long time, and at a certain time, I decided that I'm going to take a break from work. I traveled to Bali. I got certified to teach yoga, and I decided that I'm going to work on this thing that actually sparks the joy in me. So I launched Yousra Gaballah. I think it's coming from the name of Yousra Gaballah. And I'm doing it aside of like the daily work that I'm doing. So that's it about me. Moving to building a winning growth engine. Did anyone here study economics? You did, okay. What was the first thing that we use to write in the economics exam حتى لو مش مذاكر. So this is the supply and demand curve. I used to draw this graph for 4 consecutive years. قبل ما أقرأ أي سؤال, I go on the exam, I write, I do the supply and demand. And I was wondering after graduating, am I going to use this on real ground or not? Okay? So if we look at the graph, I'm not sure if you guys can see the screen or not. But anyways, the supply is like this and the demand is the other way around. And this graph shows the correlation between the quantity produced and demanded and the price. And it's pretty straightforward if we look at the supply, since you're going to customize your production or the quantity that you produce according to what is demanded from you, okay? But then when it comes to demand, so how we're going to shift the demand curve to the right, and why would we care to actually do that? What happens when we shift the demand curve to the right? We increase the revenue, because as simple as it's quantity, basic math, and quantity times price will equal to revenue. So how can we boost the revenue? And that's what we're going to answer throughout the presentation. That's the table of content. We're going to cover what is growth hacking and what is building a customer life cycle is like using data and using customization. And the last part, I'm going to share with you guys different growth strategies. And this is the most exciting part because it's supported by real business cases. And I think it's going to be more interactive. What is growth hacking? Growth hacking is the process of expanding a business and the process of spotting the opportunities that would unlock any potential revenue that the company can actually generate. Okay? And who are the growth hackers? So there is this book called Hacking Growth. And it talks about, this was the first book that talked about growth hacking. And it talked about that growth hacking is a type of marketing or the type of marketeers who are 100% focused on growing the revenue. Okay? So they use their analytics, their creativity, and the data to spot where they can invest and to know where do they have a risk that they need to mitigate. What's the difference between the traditional marketing and the growth hacking? I guess in
traditional marketing, it's more or less that you're not segmenting the audience as growth hacking, where you just have like a more specific idea of what you want to attract.
Okay, very nice. Isaac, Amr? Okay, thank you, Amr. As a definition, or not a definition, like the difference between, if I'm going to say one thing about the difference between traditional marketing and growth hacking, we're going to say that there is no one size that fits all, which is segmentation, which you just mentioned. So if we're going to give an example, let's say I have a cupcake store. In traditional marketing, I will have a billboard, and I'll have a picture of the cupcake, and maybe I'll have a discount on the billboard or something like that. But a growth hacker will do something different. I will send you a message on your personal phone telling you, hey Amr, are you craving a dessert right now? Yes. And I'll make sure that I'm targeting you at the right moment, which is a stressful time, maybe at the end of your working day, and I'll be like, are you craving dessert now? Which is a time most probably you will be craving dessert, okay? And I'm like, okay, we've got you covered with the, I don't know, the best cupcake, I don't know what. You know what I mean? So it's very customizable, and it's very targeted, and it's more efficient, okay? So there is no one size that fits all. Okay, so before we build a growth hacking plan, we need to go through a prerequisite checklist to make sure that we're offering the right product or the right service in the right place. So those are questions that you can add as much as you want, but those are those were the top of mind questions that I usually check when I'm going to be working on a project or on something new or something like that. Okay? So the first thing, what is the value of the service this product adds? Am I doing something different in the market? Do I have competitors or not? And am I having the right market fit, or it's not related to the audience? And then you start by asking the question, are people aware of your brand or not? Am I having the right pricing model compared to the competition? Or am I overpriced or maybe underpriced, and I still have an opportunity to generate more revenue? And then, do people have the required tools? Do people know how to use my application, for example? And what's the most important question is, what is my competitive advantage? If you're availing the same product everyone is offering, then you do not have any competitive advantage. You need to find your very strong point and keep throughout time to capitalize on this point. Once you finalize this checklist, you're ready to go, to start building your plan. So there are simply 4 steps. Oh, can you guys see the screen or not? Oh? Okay. So there are simply 4 steps that we need to do at the beginning of deciding on the growth plan. So first you need to define your goal, okay? Defining your goal can be like increasing acquisition by a certain percentage. Maybe you're working on the retention rate or reducing the churn percentage, okay? So it will be something related to the customer life cycle. And then once you choose your goal, okay, and you have a specific objective, you start by brainstorming the different tactics of growth. So you might start piloting different options, and you might start off benchmarking what your objective, the steps that you want to take towards your objective versus the steps that we're taking in a different market, for example. What are the best practices? And then after that, once you start piloting your ideas, you need to take your time to assess the impact of your pilots, okay? And not only to know where you stand, not only to know whether you did right or wrong, to understand what went wrong and what went right, and start adjusting before scaling up, okay? So as simple as setting a goal, start by brainstorming the different ideas, and then after that, doing different pilots, and then the step afterwards is assessing those pilots, and the final step is the adjustments before scaling up. Cool? Type. The objectives that you're going to be setting at the beginning most probably will be to make sure that you're enhancing the overall life cycle of the customer. So what's the life cycle of the customer? So you start by raising the awareness. You want people to know about you, regardless of whether they're going to be acquired or not. But at the beginning, you want them to have a good impression about your brand and to know that you exist. Following that, there is the acquisition part. And when we're talking about the acquisition part, there is a very important moment that I'm going to talk about right after this part. And it's the most important point in the journey of the customer life cycle. And then following that, after you acquired the customer, that's the time when you start studying the behavior of your base. And you start by cohorting, as you were mentioning. So you start by knowing which cohort can I start to cross-sell new streams too, and who are the customers that have a potential of downgrading. So I need to make sure that I proactively take the required actions to mitigate this downgrade. And then moving from the development part, which is the part that you do all the cohorting, you move to the retention. Okay, how you're going to make sure that you're retaining this customer for a long time to make sure that you're generating the maximum lifetime value of this customer. And by lifetime value, I'm talking about how much I'm involving different KPIs, how much this customer generated over a period of time. So this involves how long did he stay active, how many transactions he did, the value per transaction, and as well, yeah, the whole duration where he was involved with your service, okay? And then moving from here, there is the win back. You're going to lose certain customers, but you still have room of winning some of them back. But usually, if you study the behavior of the customers who already churned and proactively, it's like you build triggers to know who is potentially going to churn as well, and you take action up front instead of waiting till the end to take the required action. This is going to save you a lot of money and save you a lot of churn rate that is going, most probably, a lot of them are not going to come back. Moving to the next part. So if we're talking about acquisition, we have different methods to acquire acquisition. The first part, we have the viral marketing. So the viral marketing, what's the viral marketing, if anyone has an idea? Word of mouth? Okay, thank you. Thank you for viral marketing? No, it's not exactly the word of mouth. I'm sorry. But it's creating actually a content that people are interested to share. So you're making something go viral, but it's not 100% a word of mouth. It's a content that the company or the owners, they spent time and they worked on for people to have the incentive to share. And then we have the paid advertising, which is the social media ads and all of that. And this as well can be customizable because you pick who are your audience and on which platform and at what time. And then moving from this, you have the content marketing, which is the educational content that you try to educate your customers on how to use your app and what are the benefits of using your app. And then moving from this, we have the push notifications, which I used to use most of the time, which is targeted SMS or email or call that is only customized for this specific customer to give him a very specific message, just like the example I just shared with you regarding the cupcakes. And then the last part of acquiring acquisition is the referral. When you give an incentive for your customers to refer new customers to your business, okay? And that actually has a high credibility because through connections, the quality of acquisition that you're going to gain from the referral most probably is going to be better than the ones that you might gain from paid advertising, for example. That might be right or wrong. It's to be tested, but that's normally the case. You acquired this customer, finally. It's part of your base. Now, that's the moment that you need to make sure that you're showing credibility, how credible you are. And that's called the magic moment. So what's the magic moment? It's the moment you deliver what you promised. Okay? So, have you guys watched the movie called You Had Me at Hello? You Had Me at Hello. Did anyone watch this movie? It's a very old one. Anyways, long story short about the movie, there is this couple who broke up for whatever reason, مش مهم. And then the guy comes back, he keeps on talking and talking, explaining himself, he turns dramatic and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden the girl is like, shut up, you got me at hello. And that's a magic moment. And that's exactly what you want to do for your customer. You want to have your customer at hello. And to me, one of the best examples of an incredible magic moment is Facebook. So if we talk about Facebook, Facebook never did an ad, never had a billboard, you found an ad telling you to create an account on Facebook. But what happened is that they capitalized on the referral and the word of mouth, like you were mentioning. Okay? So I would tell you, please create an account on Facebook so that we can stay up to date with what is going on in our lives. Okay? And then the magic moment is what? Once you create that account, you would find that person that you actually want to know what they are up to date in life. Okay? And that's the moment that you would actually feel that they are delivering what they promised. And this is what we call a magic moment. I know Yousra at the back. I wanted to give an example about Rabbit. I know the expert is sitting at the back, but anyways. So if we give an example about Rabbit, they promised 20 minutes delivery. So what would be the magic moment?
When you get the order in 20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes or less. And that's the moment they deliver what they promised. And that's what we call, yes, they are credible. Okay? So if you're going to promise one thing, make sure you can deliver it. Okay? So that you do not turn to be perceived as a company or a startup that is not credible. All right? All right? Moving from, now we talked about acquisition, we talked about how to make sure that you have the right law of attraction for the customer. Now it's time to move to the base management. So how you're going to manage your base, and why would you care to actually manage your base, is to achieve the sustainability. You want to make sure that you have a healthy business, okay? So you need to focus on several points, okay? One of the most important is the user experience, from the website to the customer service, to handling their complaints, all of that. And then, and then the second part, you can always build a loyalty program that would give an incentive for the customer to stay active on your platform, okay? And this not only is the sole thing that would keep them engaged, but even if you start partnering with other, do you want to ask something? Yeah? Okay. Even if you start partnering with other companies that are more or less related to your business, you can start unlocking new streams of reaching new audience that otherwise you would have spent a lot of money on digital ads to acquire, okay? And then when you reach a phase where you're stable enough and you can find the right cohort of customers that have the room to be stretched or developed, that's when you start cross-selling. And by cross-selling, you have different ways of doing that part. Either by availing new services to those customers. Let's say now they're getting, I don't know, like if they're subscribed in one of your services and you have multiple services aside, you can start raising the awareness for those customers, maybe giving them a special discount or an incentive to subscribe in the new streams. Or you can actually start by upgrading them. If you have different packages and you find that you have certain customers reaching or have been consistent and have been renewing their packages on time, you can start actually offering the incentive to go on a higher package for a higher revenue. Cool. And then one of the most important parts, and actually this part I learned in Amazon, the part that has to do with anecdotes. Anecdotes is the voice of customers. So you constantly need to know what the customer is saying about you. Is there anything that is frustrating your audience or not? And that's how you prevent churn or inactivity. Okay? If you know where they stand today, you understand their problem, you start proactively handling that problem and adjusting whatever that you're offering to cater for their frustrations, then you're going to prevent them from becoming inactive. All right? Okay. To actually know what you need to do, okay, so I give you guys different options of tactics that you can focus on, but you need to know how you're going to be looking at data and how you're going to segment people, okay? So there are unlimited number of mix and match between KPIs that can allow you to look at the data from different perspectives, but I cohorted those into 3 different categories. The first one is based on revenue contribution. So you have how much this customer or this cohort of users are contributing to your overall revenue generation. And then you have the second part, which is on behavior. And when I'm talking about behavior, is that their activity level, how they are price sensitive. Are they, if I give them an offer, are they going to become more attached? Or am I going to be burning money that I could have saved? Okay? And then you have the consistency. Are they loyal customers, or they actually, if I'm talking about Kareem, for example, do they use Grab and Kareem and Taxi, or are they loyal to one of the 3? And then the last part, and I think this is very, very important, and this is what differentiates between someone proactive and reactive, is the potentiality. You understand, you take your time to understand what happened with certain customers. Let's give an example about the people who became inactive. So you take your time to understand the pattern of those customers, what happened, did something trigger them to reach this inactivity level, and then based on this understanding, you build the triggers that you would act upon to prevent this from happening again. Okay? So you have the prone to upgrade, those where you can stretch the customer that you have a room to stretch them, and the potential downgraders. Mix and match as much as you want between those KPIs and to find the right cohorts. Okay? And when you do, you're going to be doing, let's say, ABC test. You guys are aware of the ABC test, splitting the base, percentages, control group, yeah? Okay. If no, let me know. طيب. عملنا cohorting وعملنا pilots. We want to know where we stand. Did we do well or not? And that's when you need to go to the post-assessment part, and you need to know what are the KPIs that will give you the right signal. Okay? So if I'm talking about acquisition, for example, what is the conversion rate? Okay? And actually, I have an interesting example on the conversion rate part. So when I was in Kareem, we used to acquire acquisition through, most of them, through digital ads. And then I noticed that the overall base is shrinking, which means that the churn rate is higher than the acquisition rate. And I found, when I tried to dig deeper, I found that most of the churn is coming from the acquisition, which means that the quality of the people that we were acquiring were not healthy customers. So what we have done, I told you guys at the beginning, I was part of the CVM team, Customer Value Management team in Vodafone. I talked to the team, And then we managed, I gave them a criteria of targeting the people who are interested in ride-hailing, and we can know that from the data, who are not using Careem, and give them a free ride for the first time, okay, with a capping. Okay, so you're actually attracting a customer that you know that he has the potential, and you're customizing the offer for him, because through this SMS you can customize this content. And we found out later on that when we compared the results of the digital ads versus the acquisition acquired through partnership, that we had almost double the conversion rate, okay? And the CPAT, which is the cost per additional trip, was even lower through the partnership because we had a cap, okay? You can come up with new ideas and different ways, and you can become creative on how you can acquire someone when you actually have the right target, when you're looking at the right KPIs. Do I have a healthy conversion rate and a healthy cost of acquisition or not? Okay. And then moving to the base, you would look, خلاص you acquired certain customers, you're moving to the cohort of the stable base, so you want to know your retention rate. And this is what actually differentiates between a fake growing startup and a real growing startup, the retention rate, okay? And the retention rate can be in terms of number of customers that are retained and are constantly active. And as well, you need to look at the cost of each additional dollar that you generate, okay? And then the last part is the inactivity part. So you look at what's the pattern of what is the churn behavior and the inactivity rate, and as well, what is your cost of winning back a churned customer? Maybe the cost of, you might have the option of I'll acquire a new customer and it's going to be healthier and cheaper than winning back a churned customer. And this is where you need to pick your battle. That's the interesting part, which is the part that has to do with the strategy. So I'll give you guys two options. There are two directions that startups follow, and it's very controversial, and there is no right or wrong. There is one that says that you need to go slow to go fast. And what I mean by this is that you need to take your time to build something scalable, okay? And then after you create the main product, you will be able to go fast and unlock new opportunities and unlock new markets and all of that. Okay? So this is option number one. We're going to take votes, huh? Focus. The second option says agility is a necessity for survival. So it's no longer a luxury. You have to be agile to actually survive. Option number one, mean pro option number one. And then to take your time to build something, and then after a while you can scale it up. هم ثلاثة اللي رفعوا ايديهم. يعني I hope إن الباقي يكون هيرفع في الأوبشن الثاني. طب option number two. Okay, you guys want to go fast. Not always good, but anyways. All right, I'll give you an example. A real example from, actually it's very real, يعني مش بضحك عليكم بجد. When I was in Careem. And let's decide at the end. So back in 2019, okay, the overall strategy of Careem was to be a super app. And by super app, I mean, and هما not just wanting to be a ride-hailing app, they want to have different features in the app to be able to do many transactions on Careem, okay? So in order to reach this objective, we had a strategy meeting in 2019, and then Mudassir Sheikh announced that in parallel of building those new features in the app, we're going to switch the strategy of our promotions. Okay, so we used to give direct discounts to the customers to have an incentive to take a ride. Okay, so we switched this to a credit back option. Yani you don't have an incentive on to take this ride, you have an incentive to take the following ride. Understandable? Yeah? Okay. That means at the moment, the customer needs to make a decision. He has two options. Whether إن هو ياخد direct discount حالا في أوبر أو ياخد بقى credit back في كريم later on the following ride إن شاء الله لما يبقى يعوز يعني. Okay? This led to إيه؟ we did not test this before deciding in this is what we're going to do. This led in أنا كنت وقتها I was handling as I mentioned at the beginning, I was handling the growth of demand growth of different markets. I found إن أول حاجة conversion rate dropped dramatically, and the CPAT, which is the cost per additional trip, is going up. Okay. So what I've done is that I talked to the VP of growth and the GM of Egypt and stuff, and then I asked them to have an exception to do an ABC pilot, where I give group A discount and I give group B credit back, and we keep the group C as a control group to remove any external factors that we might not be aware of. Cool? When I did that, we can under the objective, okay, we can either make the decision, we're going to give up on the short-term revenue for the long-term objective, which is totally fine if it's a conscious decision. Or we're going, and in this case, we're going to be adjusting the targets according to the results of the pilot. Or the other option is that we're going to reverse this, or we're going to postpone this decision till we actually have the features ready in the app to make sure that the value in the wallet of Karim has a higher value than it has now. Am I clear? ماشي؟ اوكي التو استراتيجي فوق خالص. اوكي ماشي. اول استراتيجي طب ممكن اخلص الاكزامبل ده واقول لك تاني ثانيه واحده. فاحنا وصلنا للبوينت بتاع ان انا خلاص اخدت exception to do that pilot where I found in الريزلتس بتاعه الديسكاونت was way better. خلاص. what happened ان احنا we had and this had a domino effect on the rest of the markets عشان بقيت اصدقائي اللي ماسكين الماركتس الثانيه عملوا نفس البايلوت and we found out in this does not have the right market fit. ماشي. And we had to go back into this decision. Alright? This is a real example. In this example, we went too fast. We did not find the right pace of moving, so we had to take a U-turn. Okay? Going back to your question. The two strategies are, the first one is go slow to go fast. Go slow, يعني you take your time. It's not an you're slow فعلا, but you're taking your time to build something that you will be able to use it to go fast. Okay? So this is the first line of thought or strategy. And the second one is that agility is a necessity to survive. If you're slow, you're going to die. Okay? If you're taking extra time, then خلاص your competitive edge is going to die because others in the market are going to proceed way faster than you can. Cool? فبعد الexample ده, what do you guys think? Is it still option 1 or option 2?
I think it depends on the business, or the business model. I think tech startups or innovation-backed startups need to be agile and fast as they could, because those ideas could get just snatched away. However, if you're thinking more traditionally about business, I think the first option goes better.
I agree and disagree.
In which way?
Okay, I agree that, okay, certain types of businesses need to go faster than others, okay? But then I think it depends on the move and whether you will be able to take a U-turn fast and adjust and like start tweaking what went wrong to enhance the experience later on or not. So it depends on your ability. It's totally fine to take a risk, but it has to be calculated. Sometimes it crosses my mind when Omar Suleiman said, but when? Remember this? Yeah. I think, yeah, it's not always right to be fast, and it's not always right to go slow. If you have the right plan, it's fine not to reach the perfection level to launch something. That's completely fine, and that's fine in startups. But at the same time, make sure that you have this reverse action handy. Okay? So yeah, that's what. Okay. So that's the first thing, and here I'm highlighting like the difference between a fake growth and the healthy growth. And the main difference is retention and the lifetime value of the customer. A fake growth, you can have your service for free and you can acquire a bunch of acquisition that are not going to stay active. Or the other option is that you can actually focus on the quality of your product and your competitive edge and all of that, which is going to make your sustainability more promising and more ongoing. Okay? The last part that has to do with another strategy, and I love this strategy: high impact, low effort. You do whatever doesn't go into working smart is something beautiful, wallah. I'll give you an example of another real case that I faced in Vodafone. I know most of you, Vodafone is a big school, but at a certain time, I was handling the products and services there, and there was this service called Missed Call Keeper. And Missed Call Keeper is the message that you receive when your phone is off or out of reach or anything like that, telling you who called you. ماشي؟ out of curiosity, I was looking at this service and I found ان opt-in rate فيها قليل قوي. The people subscribed in this service is very low. So I went ahead and I checked the checklist that I mentioned at the beginning. Okay? So I was thinking, is this service needed? To me, 100%. Okay? I would want to know who called me when my phone was off. The second thing, is it the right product market fit? Yes. Why not? Okay? Are people aware? Most probably no. Are we having the right pricing model? So to answer this question, I had to look at the data. I checked the stable base on this service, and I checked the total amount of revenue that they actually pay on telecom. And I calculated a percentage out of this. So let's say they were paying on the service 5% from their overall revenue, telecom revenue. Cool? Which is their the price where they have the willingness to subscribe in the service. Okay? What I've done, I picked the customers with the highest ARPU, average revenue per user. I gave them the service completely for free for 1 month. Okay? And I told them, hey, good news, now you're going to get to know who called you when your phone was off. And if you're not interested, you have this code to opt out. Okay? Normally, and logically speaking, no one opted out at the first month. But then, the second month came. So what I've done is that I customized the price of this service according to that percentage that I calculated, which is the 5% from their overall order. And I texted those customers again. And I was like, yes, the free month is over, however, we still have good news. You're still going to enjoy the service at a discounted rate of X instead of Y. And each customer used to get a different pricing. And that's what cohorting is about. Okay? We found out but this service was not getting the attention of the management at all because it was not a high revenue contributor. But after the second month, أكيد أول شهر it did not generate بقى revenue عشان it was for free. The following month it was four times its revenue. And that's when it started getting the attention. And that's when I got promoted. Okay? جماعة مفيش صحيح معايا صحيح طيب a conclusion I want to tell you at the end you need to capitalize on your competitive advantage. Keep on asking yourself, why me? What do I do differently, okay, than others? And then the second thing, it's not always cool to be too sophisticated. Sometimes fixing the basics will have the highest impact. So focus first on what are the low effort, high impact fixes that can actually generate revenue for you. And the last and most important part is always keep an eye on the customer when you're building your customer experience, when you're building the customer life cycle, and that will normally and that will organically increase the value that the customer is going to be generating, and that is going to shift the demand curve to the right, which is the question that we asked at the very, very beginning. Thank you guys, and let me know if you have any questions.